Welcome guys to this video about the coolest composable I've created so far. This composable can be used as a circular progress indicator or also a circular slider. Let me quickly show you the slider functionality here. We can drag this outer circle here around the inner circle and change the value by that. And if we stop dragging, then a value gets emitted, which can then be processed in a view model or something like this. This also does not have to be percentage values here. We can choose any kind of values. And in case you are just interested in the progress indicator, then you can watch this video until 15 minutes or so, and the draggable functionality will be added after the normal progress indicator functionality. Alright, I'm in an empty compose project here in Android Studio, and first of all I want to add some additional colors for our progress indicator. You can use your own colors or just copy and paste them from my GitHub repository, which is linked in the video's description. And then we can start building our circular progress indicator. So in our root package, we will create a new Kotlin file called custom circular progress indicator. And this will be a composable custom circular progress indicator and will take a few arguments. So first of all, a modifier, which will be the default modifier by default. Then an initial value of type int, a primary color of type color, the compose one, a secondary color, also of type color, a min value of type int, which is null by default, a max value, which is also of type int, and 100 by default. This min and max value define our range. In case of percentage, we will have null to 100, but you can also change or pass null to 250 or 100 to 300, and the progress indicator will adapt to that. And depending on the range between those two min and max values, then the steps of the circular progress indicator will be adjusted to the single steps in the range. Then we will also have a circle radius of type float and a lambda function on position change, which takes an integer and returns nothing. This lambda function is only needed if you want to make this circular progress indicator also a circular slider. So this on position change gets triggered if you drag around the circle and then stop dragging, then the new positioner gets delivered in this on position lambda function here. Inside our composable, we first need to define two state variables. So first we will have our circle center by remember, which is mutable state of offset.0. And then we also need our position value, so where the circle is actually, if it's 50% or 60 or 70. This will be also by remember, and the initial value will be here mutable state of initial value, which we get passed up here as a parameter. And then we will have a box which takes our modifier. Let's import box, and inside this box we will have a canvas. And this canvas also takes a modifier, which will be modifier.fillMaxSize. And I think, no, canvas is already imported, but the wrong one. So make sure that you import this one here. And inside this canvas, we now get a draw scope. And this draw scope makes it easy for us to implement something like this circle and the little lines around the circle, which are arranged the right way. We can do some calculations there, which is easier in such a draw scope. And we also get the size and width and all that stuff. So first of all, we will define our width, which is size.width. Then we also get the height, size.height. Then we can also define the circle thickness, which is equal to width divided by 30f. You can choose another value here. This is just a value I played around with and I think that it looks good. Our circle center will be offset and the x center will be our width divided by 2f, and our y center will be the height divided by 2f, because the half of the width and the height is our center. And then we can draw a circle. This circle will be the inner circle where the current value is shown. But I will implement a preview after we define the circle so that we can always follow what's currently going on. But just let me define this first. So this circle will take a brush with a radial gradient, and the color list will be our primary and secondary color. So primary color.copy 0.45f so that it's a little bit transparent. And then the secondary color will be 0.15f, and the radius will be our circle radius, and the center will be our circle center. Before we continue with the implementation, let's define our preview so that we will always see what's currently going on and which circle we are currently drawing. So down here we can say add preview and pass show background to true. This preview will be a composable. I will just call this preview, and in here we will invoke our custom circular progress indicator. The initial value will be, for example, 67. The primary color will be orange. The secondary color will be dark gray. Our circle radius 230f, and the position value can be left empty here. We don't need to implement a logic here. And we also need to pass a modifier, which will be modifier dot size, and I will pass 250 dp here. And we can also set the background to background dot dark gray, like this. And then we can start our preview when we go to split up here and click on build on refresh. Then we can already see our inner circle, which is nicely drawn here. So let's go back to the code. And now we can draw our outer circle, which will be an arc. So we can say draw arc. The color will be our primary color. The start angel will be 90f. So we will start with our progress at the bottom. So progress 0 is at the bottom. Then our sweep angel, which will be our current progress. So how far the angel should be drawn, or the arc. This will be 360f divided by our max value. So we will depend this on the max value and multiply this with our current position to float. And then we will have a style, which will be a stroke in our case. The width will be our circle thickness, and the cap will be stroke cap dot round. So the end and the start of this stroke will be rounded. And then we will also set use center to false and pass a size for our arc. So the size will be of type size, and the width will be our circle radius times 2f, and the height will be our circle radius times 2f as well, because the radius is just the size from the middle of the circle to the outer border. And we will multiply this by 2f, so we will get the whole circle size here. And now we can have a look at the preview. And as you can see, the arc gets drawn at the top left corner by default, and we need to add a corresponding offset so that it gets placed at the right location. And therefore we can say top left is equal to offset. And for this offset, we can take our width. So this is our canvas width minus circle radius times 2f. And for the y value, we can say height minus circle radius times 2f. And then we can have a look at the preview again. And now the circle gets placed too wide. The offset is too large because we didn't take in mind that the circle, our inner circle, is drawn at the center of the canvas. So we need to divide this by 2f, and down here also. And let's refresh the preview. And now we should be in the right position here. And yeah, now it fits. Let's switch back to code. And here we need to define another circle, which is the background circle of our progress arc. So we can say draw circle, and the circle takes a style, which will be a stroke, and the width of the stroke will be our circle thickness. The color will be our secondary color. The radius will be our circle radius, and the center will be our circle center. And then we can go to our preview again and refresh this. And now you can see that our circle gets overdrawn. So we need to change the position of drawing. We put this up here and refresh our preview again. And then our progress circle is back again. But our background color for our draw circle here is the wrong one, because we passed dark gray here. And let's pass dark blue here and refresh this. And then I don't know if you can see this. Here our background color of the circle It's not ideal. Let's choose another one, gray, and refresh this. And yeah, let's take gray. Gray is a better choice here. And maybe you're asking yourself why I made this a draw arc and this a draw circle, because they are kind of both the same. But we need to start and sweep angel here for our current progress, and for our background circle up here, we can just draw a whole circle, and therefore this information here is enough. Okay, all right, then let's start with the little lines around the circle and the color of the lines, so they are also indicating the current progress. And for that, we need an outer radius, which is equal to our circle radius, plus the circle thickness divided by 2f. And let's also switch to code here, so that we can see the actual code. And then we also need a gap between our outer circle and the circle lines, which will be 15f. Now things will get very interesting, drawing the single lines and how to arrange them properly and how to color them properly. We will need a for loop for that, and we can then say I in 0 to our max value minus our min value. And this will go from 0 to 100, because our max value is in our case 100 and our min value is 0. Let's say until here, so that we will really just draw 100 and not 101. But this works also for other values. If you have a max value of 200 and a min value of 30, then I would be 170 values and draw 170 lines. Maybe you should implement a separate logic if you have, for example, 10,000 of lines. But yeah, I think this is fine for our case here. And then we will say val color is equal to if I is lower than our position value minus our min value. And this minus is required in case our min value is not 0. And then it should take our primary color, and else it should take also our primary color, but with an alpha, so it's a little bit brighter. So alpha of 0.3f. And I told crap to you, this for loop definition here is really wrong. We need to include the highest value, of course, and we also need to start from 1, because we don't need to draw a line for 0, because our max value will be our min value as well. So yeah, we just need to start by 1 and need to include 100 in our case. So now we need our angel in decrease first for each I value, so for each single line. Well, angel in decrease, which will be I multiplied with 360f divided by our max value minus our min value. So the total range here. Be careful that you don't use the max value here, just because, as I already said, the min value could also be like 20 or 30, and this does not have to be 0. And this to float. And then we also need to convert this angel in decrease to the angel in red. So, well, angel in red is equal to angel in decrease multiplied with pi divided by 180f. This is the general formula to convert the decrease in rate. And then we also need to add pi divided by 2f, because in decrease spoken, this means we add 90 degrees, because we want to start at the bottom. And I already told you up here, when we draw this arc, we start by 90 degrees, so that the arc starts drawing the first percent at the bottom and not at the right. And we do the same thing basically here with adding those p divided by 2f to each of our lines, so that the right line gets colored in the right way. Now, after we have our angel in red, we can calculate our different line arrangement. So each line needs to be set up differently. So one line, for example, stands like this, and another line tilts like this, and the next line tilts like this, and we always need to calculate how these lines should be drawn for each line in this for loop. So we will say, well, y gap adjustment is equal to cosinus, our angel in red, and multiplied with our gap, which we defined up here. And then we will also have our x gap adjustment, which will be minus sinus, or no, sin, and this will be also our angel in red multiplied by the gap. And now we can define the start position and the end position where our line actually should be drawn. So well start is equal to offset. The x-coordinate will be our outer radius multiplied with cosinus angel in red plus our circle center dot x plus our x gap adjustment. The y value will be our outer radius multiplied with sinus angel in red plus our circle center dot y plus our y adjustment. And yeah, it's complaining that it needs a float here. We can just convert this like this. And now we can just copy and paste this here because there will be just a little adjustment. So well end. And here we will also add our circle thickness. So circle thickness, yeah, exactly like this. And now we have everything we need to draw this line. So down here we can say rotate because we want to also tilt this line depending on the current decrease. Here we can say angel in decrease. The pivot will be our start. And in this rotate, in this draw scope, we can draw a line. The color will be our color. The start will be our start. The end will be our end. And the stroke width will be 1 dp 2 pixel, like this. And yeah, I think this should be it, and we can have a look at the preview if everything works fine. And this is not how it's supposed to look like actually. And yeah, let me have a look into this. Okay, all right, it's on the top here. We shouldn't use the angel in red here because for the y gap adjustment and the x gap adjustment, we actually should use our angel in decrease multiplied by pi divided by 180. So just this part here without this additional 90 degrees. And let me quickly change this and refresh the preview, and then it looks quite good, I think. And yeah, it also looks like we can increase the gap a little bit, not the gap, the circle thickness, which is up here. I will say 25F, so the lines get a little bit larger. And the last thing that's left is the text in the middle of the circle, which says the current progress. So down here below our for loop, we can say draw context dot canvas dot native canvas, because the compose canvas does not support drawing texts yet. So dot apply, and in this native canvas we can say draw into canvas, and then we can draw text, and this text will say our position value, and we will just pass, or we will append a percentage here. Maybe you should also pass the unit somehow in the composable as a parameter, but for this case I will just use the percentage here. And let's also close the preview because it shows real things. And this position of the text will be our circle center dot x, circle center dot y for the y position. And here we will add a little padding here. You can play around with these values and see how it looks in your cases. For me, this just centers the text a little bit better, divided by 3f. And then we will say paint dot apply. The text size will be 38 isp 2 pixel. Then the text align will be paint dot align dot center, the color will be white to RGB, and this fake bold text is equal to true. And all these errors are because of the comma here, I think, because yeah, we said apply here and we still get this huge error because the wrong paint is included. So up here in our imports, where is it? It's because of this general import here. Let's remove this. And for the color, we will import the color. For the stroke cap, we will import the stroke cap. And now we come to our paint. So we will use this Android graphics paint here. Import SP, import to RGB. We can go to our split view here, and then we can see that the current percentage value is actually drawn. And now you can see if we change these values, then it gets adapted really nicely. And yeah, so far for the current progress indicator. Oh, and I see the last line here is not colored. So let's look into this. All right, okay, I found a mistake, and I know I am correcting this the second time now, but it's also not that easy for me with all those details, those little details, especially here. And yeah, we need to set this to 0 because in the first loop it won't get drawn because we have a lower than sign here. If we would have this one, we could also change this like this with the 1, and then it would also work, but I think let's just set it to 0 and leave it like this. Then we can refresh this preview, and now you can see it works properly. Let's check also the second special case with the initial value. This looks also great. 1, 2, 3. Okay, all right. This looks good now. It's just a little bit of an overhead here from our progress circle, but yeah, I think this is fine now. Okay, so far so good. Until now, this is just a circular progress indicator. You can pass a value into it, define a min and a max value, and it will show you the corresponding progress. If this is enough for your own project purposes, then you should just take this code and apply it in your own projects. I won't do any more for the circular progress indicator, but if you want to bring this indicator to the next level and make a circular slider, which you can drag around and define the value by yourself, then you should keep watching. I will do this in a separate video because this is already quite long, and this draggable logic will be very interesting, but also a little bit complicated. And this will also take another 20 minutes, I think. And yeah, so I will make this a separate video, and I hope you follow along, and we will see us there. Bye bye.